computer. And now let's start the share. All right. So in all things sacred, as African people, we always begin by honoring those that allowed us to be in this space and in this time. And the way in which we do that is oftentimes through a process called libation. And so when we do libation, we usually have a couple of things. We have a container that we pour fresh water into. In this case, I have a small gourd. And we usually have a plant, or if we're outside, we pour it into the soil or onto the ground. And sometimes we'll pour it into another vessel, just another clear glass. So there's lots of different ways in which one can do it. And so a simple way to offer libation is to acknowledge our ancestors by simply saying, ancestors, please give us the wisdom to knowingly and lovingly shape our world. And we pour fresh water. And I may have Dr. Rachel Bryant talk a little bit about the significance of water, because she did some water work for us this morning in our BPP team meeting, and the significance of water. But having fresh water is vital in so many ways. And so we offer fresh water to our ancestors and to the earth. And we say the word Ashe, which means with power. And so I say Ashe to our ancestors.
Ashe.
So Dr. Rachel, tell us a little bit about water. I'm gonna pause here.
Okay, I think there's some folks in the waiting room too who are texting me. So while I do that, water is, I feel, our greatest medicine. It heals us being near it. It can shift our feelings and emotions. When we drink it, it cleanses us. When we bathe with it, it washes us. And the magic of water is that it is a shapeshifter, right? It changes states. It can be frozen, it can be rushing, it can be a still pool, it can be trickling, it can evaporate into the air and come back down again. And so water is just very sacred. And for me, and what I'd like to share with you is that it helps me think about how I flow through my day, and that we can choose to be like water, right? We can choose to flow. We can choose to bring up our energy when we need to get around obstacles. We can choose to stay still like ice, right? We can choose our state, and water is so powerful that it finds its way through. It's so persistent. It'll wear down boulders. We have the Grand Canyon because of the work of water. So I could go on and talk about water, but I am so grateful to the water that gives us life, that cleanses our bodies, our minds, our spirits, and the planet, that nourishes us, that sacred water that we come from, and from the womb space. Yes, so just thank you, water.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And I call on others, what energies would you like, in addition to the water, to join us as we proceed today in our info session? You can call it out. You can call out the names of your ancestors, spiritual leaders, historical leaders, personal ancestors, different energy forces.
Julius Everett London Jr. and Sr.
Ashe.
The Reverend Dr. Ronald B. Christian.
Ashe.
Harriet Tubman.
Ashe.
Calling in the sacred element of ether, the connector of the other elements, the spaces in between, the mediator.
Ashe.
I'm calling in Julia Ann Cooper and Yamaya.
Ashe. And just a reminder that we do this work not only for ourselves, but we do this work for generations to come, for future students, faculty, staff, administrators of the California Institute of Integral Studies. We do this work on their behalf, that one day, perhaps, our names will be called and remembered for the good work that we did to make the way easier for them. Ashe, ashe, ashe-o. All right, thank you, everyone.
Did you see the
Oh.
folks in the waiting room, Adeeba?
I can't, Tronda should be able to, she's co-host, so she should be able to let folks in. It's difficult for me to, while I
Right.
have the screen share on, so.
I don't see the folks in who were texting me saying they needed to get in.
I just clicked over to view and I just admitted everyone in.
Thank you. There we are. Hey, everybody.
So now I have to figure out how to not have it on my screen so I can see my screen. So let's see, let me pull this up and see if that will go up with it. And actually, I'll stop the share for a second. And what I'll do is I will make you co-host, Rachel. That way, if you see something, you can assist as well. And I will do the same for Laneay. If you see something, you can also assist because you'll have co-host. And there we go. Beautiful. It's always good to have co-harvesters. And speaking of my co-harvesters, we're going to introduce ourselves right now. So I'm Adeeba Deterville, Dr. D, and I'm the project manager for the BPP at CIIS. I'm an alumni of the Transformative Studies program, and you're going to see a little bit of my doctoral research, which frames the BPP. I'm also core faculty in the School of Undergraduate Studies in the Bachelor's of Science in Psychology program. And I serve on the national board of the Association of Black Psychologists as the co-chair on the certification in African Black Psychology. And I'm also the vice president of the Bay Area chapter of ABPsi. And I'm currently part of the organizing committee to launch a new chapter in the greater Sacramento area. And Tronda, can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tronda Lumpkins, and I am the program assistant for the Black Psychology Project at CIIS. I'm also a third-year doctoral student in the Integral and Transpersonal Psychology program there, and here at CIIS, and I'm also a member of the Bay Area chapter of ABPsi.
And tell them a little bit about the work that you're doing with the Bay Area chapter and Dr. Nobles and Goddard.
Yes, absolutely. I'm working with a group of therapists and healers and community organizers. We're doing, we have a research project underway for this year called Planting Healing. And it is compiling information and data and input from Black families from the Oakland area, the Bay Area primarily, about their life, their experiences during COVID, in ways that they can improve communication, improve interactions, engage better. And they're using a workbook that Dr. Goddard and Dr. Wade Nobles put together, just providing tools and insight and resources on coming together and strengthening themselves as family. And so it's in partnership with ABPsi and Dr. Goddard's and Nobles Institute, Black Family Life and Culture Institute. So
Beautiful.
I'm excited about that. And yeah, and it's going well. We're actually finishing up our first cohort and we'll be running 4 cohorts this year.
Excellent. Beautiful. And our esteemed Director of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, Dr. Rachel.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel Bryant. I am the Director of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and I make institutional problems mine so you don't have to, students. And I'm working really hard behind the scenes and looking forward to this year's BPP. Thank you.
And you're a graduate of, alumni of?
I graduated from the Community Mental Health Program, I can't even remember the year, a long time ago, and wish there had been a BPP when I was a student, and have just watched Dr. D grow and grow this program over the years, and you'll hear more about that soon.
Beautiful. And is Damali with us?
I am. Hi, everyone. I'm Damali Robertson. I am the new Assistant Director of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. I work alongside Rachel, Adeeba, Tronda to support this work. So I'm just excited to be here with all of you.
Beautiful. And our new is Associate Laneay.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Lon, like your friend Lon, and yay! So I am honored to be here again. I am actually a graduate of the first cohort of the Black Psychology Gateway projects back in 2018. I was up at CIIS and was the mistress of ceremony. So if anybody saw that event, that was me. And I'm honored to be here to be able to share the work that I've been doing. I'm the CEO of Serenity Village Developments. You'll hear more about that later. Serenity Village Life is our motto. We build wellness for people in all aspects of their life, from personal to business. And you'll hear more of my presentation later. I'm a master level social worker with a concentration in mental health, a former ASW, and I'm also in the running to be the Western Regional Representative for the Association of Black Psychologists.
Beautiful. Thank you, Laneay. And I'll introduce the Bay Area chapter of ABPSI. They are our partner organization. And so you'll see a lot of collaboration, a lot of interaction between the BPP at CIIS and the Bay Area chapter of ABPSI. So a brief history of the BPP and how we got here. So we got here in a very, what is the word? I don't know the word and I don't want to mess the word up, but you all know what word I'm thinking and it starts with an S. Securious? That's not how you say it. Somebody help me. Is it securious?
Circuitous.
Circuitous. Thank you. Circuitous way. And the way that it started was back in 2015, 16, somewhere right around in there. I was the program coordinator for the Master's in Counseling Psychology department. So I sat in the role where I provided sort of I had the big view of all 5 concentrations within the Master's in Counseling Psychology program department. And we recognize, and I say we, because Rachel and I, we have run this course together, that there was a huge need for Black psychology and support for the Black students that were in the Master's in Counseling Psychology degree programs. And so she came to my cubicle and I had always kept a lot of articles and different things because by that point I had been a part of ABPSI in some way or another for about 30 years. So I first came to the Association of Black Psychologists as a lost and confused 20-something back in the 80s, and they rescued me and saved my life. And so I've been dedicated to them and they've been dedicated to me since 1989. And so so she came to my desk and we have a favorite phrase that we use when we know good things are a brew. We say, hey. So she'll say, hey, Adeeba. And I'll say, hey, Rachel. And then it's on and cracking. And so she came to my desk and she said, hey, Adeeba. And now we have the BPP however many years later. So our very first cohort, she at the time was the director of the Mental Health Services Act grant. And so as the MHSA, We brought that together with ABSI and created the MHSA ABSI cohort. And this first photograph is our first participants at the inaugural, very beginning stages of what has now become the BPP. Each of those students were all in an MCP program. They were in community mental health, ICP, drama therapy, expressive arts therapy. I think all 5 concentrations, I know they were represented. And this photograph was at the ABSI International Convention because we took a contingency to the convention. And we've been blessed that every single year that we've offered this program, that we've been able to provide free registration, paid registration to everyone who participates in the Jackmanship Cohort to attend the ABSI International Convention. Our second year we did it, we had 2 incoming students that were coming into the community mental health program. And we were able to take them to the ABSI convention in Washington, DC. And so they began their studies at CIIS by being introduced to Black psychology right at the start. And then our cohort that Laneay is an alumni of, that was a 2017-18 cohort. And we had expanded by that point where we were able to apply for a grant from the Office of Statewide Health and something. And so we got a small mini grant and we were able to expand the program to offer it to the broader community. So we had participation from people from all over the country in the Black Psychology as a Professional Gateway Project. And this is the closing ceremony for that Laneay was our mistress of ceremony for. And all of them had an opportunity to attend the 50th annual International Convention of ABSI that was held in Oakland. And they were fabulous. They participated in the planning, they participated in the ceremonies, many of them participated in doing workshops and all of those wonderful things. So all of this was done while I was a student at CIIS in the doctoral program, and I was not really paid. I got a stipend here and there for some of this work. And so for all of these years, we had been asking administration to officially, bring the BPP into CIIS as an official program. So we tried one more time. Well, I won't go to the next one. And so we tried one more time last year. There's some breaks in between because I took time off to do my proposal and write my dissertation. And so I didn't have the bandwidth to do the BPP. And so it just stopped. So when I stopped and Rachel stopped, it stopped. And so we finally were able to, so that's why I said at the beginning that this is truly the inaugural of the BPP at CIIS. Judy Wexler, our most recent president who just retired, one of her closing gifts to us was to officially bring the Black Psychology Project at CIIS as part of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. And so we now have an official home there. We have an actual staff position, me. We have an actual program assistant, Tronda. We have a little bitty, tiny budget that's growing. It's gonna grow because we were watering it. But we are officially a part of ODI and officially a part of CIIS. So now you all will be able to see this beautiful history on our websites, on our Facebook pages, on our Instagram, all of those sorts of things, because I just wasn't letting them have the information until it was actually a part of the university. I didn't think that was being an integrity. And so now that we can. So I'm gonna turn it over to Tronda, and she's gonna tell you a little bit about what the BPP is.
Well, the BPP is a series of African-centered workshops, and also it is a leadership development program for current CIIS students. And the students are of African ancestry, of Black students. And the workshops, however, are open for the African ancestry students, and as well as the broader CIIS community. And the workshops, what it does, the series raise awareness of the whole Black psychology field and study. And we focus on its applications, its practice, and we get presenters to present the workshop from the field of psychology, Black psychology. This past year, we had a host of Black scholars from ABSI and who has just contributed a great deal to the field of Black psychology. It's a unique aspect of African-centered leadership and development, and the piece that is centered around the students is called our Jackmanship. And each year there's a cohort, a Jackmanship cohort. And this is rooted in Dr. D's Sankofa praxis, the meta theory that her dissertation work was centered around, and also how knowledge and wisdom is transferred between the Jagnis and the Jagnas. So to enhance the integral education and learning experience of Black students at CIIS, the Jackmanship Cohort and the Black Psychology Program field and of study and application and practice is what our objective is and why we have the BPP. And so this is, it's becoming more and more official, and we're very excited. And so what we're doing is continuing to move this effort through CIIS and toward an anti-racism institution by expanding its epistemology and epistemological frame to one that is more emic, a more emic approach.
Yep.
And we do focus a great deal on psycho-spiritual wellness, not just among us as the leaders within the institute, within the program, and not just among the students, but also as a frame of focus and a way that we want to move forward in the praxis of Black psychology. So yes, so opportunities to participate. You want me to do that, Adeeba?
Mm-hmm. If you want to, I can. Do you want me to?
I can go forward. I can go forward with it. Thank you. So the workshops and the Jackmanship Cohort, again, is twofold. We have the workshops that's available to the entire CIIS community, and including students, faculty, and staff. These workshops range from, what is Black psychology, the expressive arts, into psychotherapy.
Don't give it all away yet. You're going to tell them in
the
the
research. Okay, you go. Okay.
Just stick to the bullets. We're going to get to it.
It's been a treat. So, and so the workshop is, again, open to the entire CIIS community, faculty, staff, and we haven't had concerns about attendance and participation. It is highly attended. And the cohort is made of students of African ancestry. They're either enrolled in psychology programs, transformative studies, and they're also members of the Pan-African Student Union, and they're to just improve their student retention.
So the one thing things that I would highlight from this is that there's two ways to participate, because sometimes people will ask about how do they participate in the BPP? Is this just for Black students? And the answer is no, it is not just for Black students. It's for all of CIIS. So anyone that is affiliated with CIIS is welcome to participate in the Black Psychology Project. What we have is a sacred cohort called the Jackmanship Cohort, and that Jackmanship Cohort is comprised of self-identified people of African ancestry that have had a lived Black experience. And so I emphasize it in that way because we don't decide who is Black. That is for that individual to decide. And so if you say that you are of African ancestry and you have had a lived Black experience, we are not going to question that. And we hold the standard to our ancestors and to the principle of Ma'at, the principle of truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, reciprocity, and order. And so if you, and to not sound, too strong, but it is strong, if you can honestly stand before God and your ancestors and make that statement that you should be a part of the Jackmanship Cohort, then we are not going to question that. So, so you don't have to email me and ask me, am I Black enough? Do I qualify? My mama is this, my cousin is this, I'm married to that. I don't know, I've been thinking about being Black. Don't ask me any of those questions. You ask yourself and you be true to your heart and to your spirit. And that is sufficient for us. And so we'll get to a point in the program tonight where we're gonna, Tronda will share the application. And so, so you'll be able to have access to that application and fill it out. And I don't want anyone to be scared about it, so fill it out. If you're sincere and you want to be a part of this process, fill it out and send it in. And if for whatever reason we have questions or we say we're not sure if this is a good fit or what have you, we will talk to you, because it's not about keeping people out. It's about creating sacred space so that we can be together. And so I just want you I just really want to remind people that this is about bringing people in, not keeping people out. And the same is true for the CIIS community workshops. Everyone, administration, staff, faculty, the security guard, everybody, if you're a part of the CIIS community, if you're an alumni, please, please, the workshops are there for you. The intention is for us to elevate African epistemology within the institution, not to silo it, but to elevate it and to bring it in.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I would also like to add that the Jackmanship Cohort is a critical instrument of healing and community building, and we create space for just that. It is a space for community building and for students to get together, to just share what their experiences are as students, as Black students at CIIS, and how we can support one another in that process.
Yes. So it's a combination, and we'll talk more about Jackmanship and the cohort as we go forward. I think it's the next slide. All of this is, and Tronda mentioned this at the beginning, is a manifestation, is an operationalized version of what I call Sankofa praxis. So Sankofa praxis is the meta theory that I created as part of my dissertation work. And what it looks at, it has two key foundations. One is Sankofa and the other is Jackmanship. Sankofa, I got to move my little screen here so I'm not covering up my words. So Sankofa is a cultural concept that is used to guide African descendant people in a cultural reclamation process. And so again, all of this is language towards African people, because my work and my dissertation and all of that, that's who I'm mainly speaking to, that's who I'm looking to. But don't exclude yourself when you hear those words and say, oh, well, she's not talking about me because I don't identify as an African ascendant person. I am still speaking to you. So, so it's a reclamation process. It's a way in which we go back and we look at the past, we look at the present, and we look towards the future. What is it that we're contributing to bring to the future? Jackmanship is a relational, intergenerational guided development process. And I'm going to speak a little bit more to Jackmanship in a second. And so what Sankofa praxis does is through a process of Jackmanship, so you'll see on the image of the calabash, Through this Jackmanship process, we go back and we do reclamation work in African episteme. So how do we know what we know? We go back and we do restoration work and recovery work around Black psychology. How does our spirit mind understand what it means to be human? We do that reclamation work through Jackmanship around spiritness, and the same thing around personhood, our sense of identity. How do we come to know who we are as embodied individuals? So Sankofa praxis is the meta theory, it's the theoretical framework that undergirds and is the structure on which we are operating within the BPP. And so Jackmanship, one of my favorite things in the whole wide world, is a relational, oops, I have to move you guys. Let's see how I can do this. I'll go like that, and then I'll go like this. So it's a relational African-centered, intentionally, I can say that word, intentionally guided development process for intergenerational knowledge and knowing and knowledge transfer, which engages in a mutual co-learning approach. And so this is important because it is not mentorship. And I don't know if I say that anywhere explicitly on this slide, but Jackmanship is not mentorship. Mentorship is a whole other thing with a very different history rooted in Greek philosophy and European philosophy and practices. And mentorship is traditionally done where you have someone who is the holder of knowledge, and they may give you some of their knowledge so that you can come into maybe a peer position with them. But it doesn't really go much deeper than that. So they are the expert, and they are mentoring you, providing you with some level of knowledge and expertise in order for you to move into a position of power or like-mindedness. And they, as mentors, tend to not be transformed themselves in that process. Jackmanship is very different than that. Jackmanship is a co-learning experience. And so the person who is sitting as a Jagna, and I'm not going to go into all of the details of these words right now, that's a workshop that we'll do at some point. The person who serves in the role of Jagna is also learning. They learn as much from the person that they're in Jagnaship with as the person who is the Jagni. So it is a co-learning experience. It is facilitated in order to sustain. The reason why we decided to use that model so that we can sustain this, so that so we don't have those gaps. So when Rachel and I, or I speak for myself, when I step away from this role as the program manager for the BPP, it will continue. That it's not dependent on me and my expertise and who I know in my network and all of those sorts of things. And so it's a way to be sustaining and self-generating over time. And it's sacred, as I said before. We see the Jackmanship cohort and the Jackmanship experience as something that is very sacred. We make a commitment to one another that is beyond the embodied experience. I call on my Jagnas who have transitioned to the ancestral realm all the time. And so Jagnaship is not a temporary thing. It's an eternal commitment that we make, especially if you're in the role of Jagna. And so I am so excited that this is our most recent group of Jackmanship cohort participants from our 2021 BPP. We had 39 self-identified students of African ancestry participate in our BPP 39. And this is a screenshot from our closing ceremony in May of this year. It feels like it was years ago, but it was just a few months ago. And if anybody is on the Zoom right now, I'm going to stop my screen share, and I want to hear some testimonials from some of our Jackmanship cohort folk. So don't make LaTronda call on you, because I know she will.
I was just about to say, I see
Well,
a couple of you in here.
I'll volunteer to start. I'm having some Wi-Fi issues. That's why you don't see my live face. But I had a wonderful experience. I'm in the bottom left-hand corner of that picture that you just saw. And one of the things that I said at the closing ceremonies is how, as a white presenting Black woman, it was so wonderful to come into a space and just feel like, as Dr. D mentioned, that I didn't have to prove myself. I was accepted for who I was. The information that I had, the experience that I've had throughout my life was embraced and celebrated. And it was a place of safety and just a wonderful opportunity to really share information and learn. And so that is really something that was impactful for me and why I wanted to come and hear about this next year and what we'll be doing.
Beautiful, thank you.
I don't see anyone else. Thank you, Jen. That was wonderful. That was beautiful. I do want to add that there were a group of students in the cohort, maybe about 3 or 4, who put together a workshop that talked about the inequities and oppressive experiences that many of them were having at CIIS. And it was an opportunity to call students in, to call faculty in, and other school administrators to have a conversation about what that looked like and how to create solutions. And it was quite successful. There was a really large turnout. The students were empowered. This was the first time they were invited to another meeting with the president to talk more about these experiences. And we actually have seen some changes in some programs within the Institute as a result of that. And so this is an example of how the Jackmanship Cohort can create movement, can create change and transformation within the institutional setting. And this is, again, what Dr. D was talking about, BPP as being a critical instrument in creating an anti-racist institution.
Beautiful, thank you, LaTronda. And Laneay, as someone who graduated from one of our previous offerings, the Black Psychology as a Professional Gateway Project, can you speak a little bit to what your experience was in that iteration and how it's informed, if at all, though I know that it did because you're sitting here, the work that you're doing today?
Thank you. I once again, honored to be here in the presence, in this phase of the BPP. It's amazing. Wow, how did it form? So I am, and I call myself a corporate hippie. I have upper level degrees, but I celebrate my hippie side very much. I'm a Reiki healer, and in both the Usuri and the Kemetic Reiki versions of the practice. And so I felt empowered to do that out loud because I got to speak in my professional realm about mental health. And at the time I was an ASW and what that meant for me personally and professionally, but I got to do it barefoot in my African garb. Which you don't get a chance to do, and be spirit and grounded in a public meeting. And that was an amazing feeling. I constantly speak to that experience when I'm talking to people about being able to be present culturally and spiritually in a professional setting, and be honored for that. And years later, here I am working with ABSI on the national level to inform the infrastructures and the organizational development, all the stuff I do professionally for the institution that brought the beautiful people that have created this program forward, like Adeeba. So my whole life has been informed, it seems like, for the last few years by that experience. So thank you for allowing me to participate in that, Adeeba.
Yay, us. So, LaTronda, she did such a fabulous job of picking out the artwork for our workshop series, Classroom Space. So just as to go back a little bit around, I just want to say one more thing to Jen in particular. Thank you, Jen, for all of the work that you did as part of the BPP Jackmanship Cohort. She really took on some leadership roles and facilitated sessions, was active in various healing circles and just committee work, and was just present, was at every cohort session, was an integral part of the closing ceremony, and just was a joy to have in the cohort. So I wanted to acknowledge you once again for that. And also Laneay, yeah, it was, you brought so much to the Professional Gateway Project, and we approached you, I think maybe a few minutes, I don't even know when, before the ceremony. And it was like, can you be the mistress of ceremony? And this was a full day conference that we hosted at CIIS in Namaste. It was a beautiful event. I wish you all could have been there. And she just stepped up and facilitated that day. It was just glorious and beautiful. And ever since that time, she's just been a part of ABSI, and has, as I said, coming now to become the Western Regional representative for the National Association. So, and she's back here with us to serve again as an alumni. So that's part of that Jackmanship process, that sustainability process. And our workshops, the way in which it's structured in a technical way is there's two components. There's the Canvas space, and the Canvas space is for our students. So if you're accepted into the Jackmanship Cohort, you are actually enrolled in a Canvas space. It is not a class. You do not get academic credit. Again, this is not a class. You do not get academic credit, but it may look like a class because it's in the classroom space, in our Canvas classroom space. And the reason for that is, as the workshops are hosted, we record them and they get uploaded into the Canvas space. And for those who are not a part of the cohort, we wanted you all to also have a classroom space so that you could go back and look at the recordings. You could have discussion posts about what you saw in the recordings. You can form community with yourself. So it's a mirror in a way to what the Jackmanship Cohort will have an opportunity to do through the Canvas space. The Google Classroom space is available for all participants who attend the workshop series. And so Tronda is going to show you some of the workshops that we did in the Google Classroom space. We can't show you the Canvas space because of federal education rules and regulations. And that was the other thing. We wanted a space that is a Google space that's open to everyone who can contribute. So even if you're in the Jackmanship Cohort, you're also in the Google space. So it's not separate. Again, we're not trying to separate people. So you also will be a part of the Google Classroom space. So this is one of the beautiful banners that Tronda created for our workshop number 6, Creativity and Expressive Arts as a Praxis. So I'm going to stop my screen share and give it over to Tronda, and she's going to show you a little bit about the Google Classroom space.
I'm going to share my screen. So let me know if you can see it. Not yet?
Almost. It says it's starting. There we go. It's up.
All right. So let me see about moving me over some. The way the classroom is accessed is it's open to anyone interested in attending the workshops. So that's faculty, staff, community, CIS community members, it doesn't matter, students as well. And you are invited to enter into the Google space. So you would provide me with your email address. So that's either through participating in an informational session or just sending an email to BPP stating that you're interested in participating. But once you have registered for one of the workshops, you will be entered into one of these classrooms. We've had this space open up for the information session. For those who could not make it and wanted to attend, what we do is put up the video of that session. So those folks who could not make it today will create a classroom space for the information session and then embed the video here. The same for the other workshops. We have what is Black psychology, and along with the video, the Zoom video, there are also dialogue that took place amongst the participants. And flyers have been uploaded here. And then also the video link and what have you.
And any handouts. So if the presenters had handouts, articles, all of that kind of stuff, that's uploaded in there.
I think it was Dr. Goddard and Narissa Harris presented on community mental health and Black mental health and wellness. And so there were some articles that she posted here, which could be downloaded. There was a PDF of Dr. Goddard's entire presentation, which is loaded with just tons of resources, research articles, references, and some of his most recent work. And then the same with Narissa, her entire PowerPoint presentation was uploaded there. And then there was also some handouts, and then the recording of the session is also embedded here. So it will allow for an opportunity to even just go back and engage in the conversation that the participants engaged in during the time of the workshop, and also obtain resources and handouts and information that you wouldn't normally have access to. And it's the same for every single workshop. We had a workshop on epigenetics and neuropsychology, which was, wow, this was jam-packed with valuable information centered around intergenerational stress and depression and how to combat it, just looking at it from a strength-based perspective and a psycho-spiritual wellness perspective and not trauma-focused. And so that's it pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So for you all today, if you're interested in being a part of this platform and attending these workshops, we have your email addresses. You just give us, you can even put it in a chat that you're interested. I'll jot down your information and make sure that you're added to this platform. And this is open to everyone, no matter your status or your level within the institute or what have you.
One of the things that we've been trying to figure out is right now the way it was structured, just because of our own technical limitations of figuring out how to use all of these tools, we had separate classrooms for each workshop. And literally just earlier today, we realized, oh, we don't necessarily have to have separate classrooms. Maybe we can just have one classroom with different topics. Then there's just one time that you need to log in, and then you can have access to all of the workshop series as we go along. So we're still working on the technology side of some of this. And if anybody has any ideas around another way in which we can make this more easily accessible, this is just a tool that we were familiar with, Google Classroom. And so now that we have Damali as the assistant director of ODI, and I know she brings a lot of tech experience, she might be able to help us out a little bit, hint, hint, on the tech side. And we have video recordings from the one that Laneay participated in years ago. That was 2018, 2017, with me and my iPad and a tripod trying to Zoom stuff. And it was a whole thing. Before anybody knew what Zoom was, we were Zooming back then. So we have those recordings and they're just sitting on a Google Drive right now. So we have stuff that goes back for years that we can share, even going back to 2000. And even before that, we've got tons of material that we can now share. So hopefully we'll be able to make more and more of that available as we get our tech skills up and going. And let's see, what's up next? Oops, I didn't mean to click on that. Wow, it actually worked. I was trying to do that earlier and it didn't work. That is too funny. Okay. So let's see if I can get back to my PowerPoint. Yes, I can. Okay, let me hit share. So continuing on, yes, with a workshop series. So I'll take this and then, because I want Damali and Laneay to talk a little bit about theirs. So our first workshop in the series is always, I always facilitate the first workshop, what is African Black psychology? And so we do have dates for some of these. I believe mine is like the third Thursday or something like that in October, but we'll send out flyers with the exact dates and times. Typically we do the workshops on Tuesdays or Thursdays at either a 4 p.m. or a 6 p.m. start time. Because sometimes we have facilitators that are on the East Coast. And so we found that most students are available either from between 4 and 6 and 6 and 8. And that Tuesdays and Thursdays tend to work well for most students to be able to attend live. And for anyone, again, to attend live. So that's our first workshop, what is Black psychology? All of the workshops are 2 hours. And then in November, we're hoping to have confirmed Dr. Christy Hagens to talk about Safe Black Space. That's an actual program that she holds here in Sacramento. And she can also talk a little bit about, not a lot, she can talk a lot about, because she's one of the trainers for the emotional emancipation circles. So she's not officially confirmed as yet. I should have put a little asterisk next to her name, but that is our intention, is to have her facilitate and talk about Safe Black Space in November. And then in December, we have our very own Damali Robertson and Laneay London, who are going to talk about embodied wellness practices. So since we have them with us, if you all can give us a little preview of what the workshop will be about, that would be great.
Thank you. And I just have to warn everyone that I have a dog that barks randomly. So forgive me in advance if that happens. But in this workshop, I am thinking about my grandmother's hands in particular. And, the fact that I have walked through those practices many times just to be present with the racialized trauma that has happened in my own life. And I thought that I would lead a workshop on those wellness practices, leading us through a few of those embodied practices and just being with what arises from that. So that is the part that I am looking forward to bringing, and I will turn it to Laneay to share more.
Thank you, Damali. And what I wanted to do is I like to veggie back. Yes, I did say veggie back off of the energy of the room. So if we're talking about embodying wellness practices, I want to talk about environmental wellness specifically and how the things around you affect your wellness, whether you realize them or not. Energetically, as a Reiki healer, I spent tons of time talking about energetic wellness and practices. So I wanted to add that to the December meeting.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you both. So that's our schedule for the fall semester. And then for spring, we're going to hopefully cover some of the same topics that we have in previous workshops, previous iterations, which is African-centered expressive arts approaches, African-centered spiritness, integral and transpersonal psychologies. And then my personal favorite, and all of these are favorites, so I shouldn't even say that, is the personal in praxis. And so I really like taking a deeper dive around different African-centered identities, the Black male experience, Black womanist experience, the LGBTQ+ experience, and how we engage in those embodied experiences from an optimal perspective. Not a, oh, how hard is it to be a fill in the blank? How wonderful, how empowering, how inspirational, how joyful it is to be in these bodies at this time, manifested in the way in which we are. And so the personal and praxis, sometimes we'll do them as individual workshops. Sometimes we do it as a collective workshop where we have presenters that talk about each of those topics who have a lived experience themselves from that perspective, and also have their living textbooks as well as authors of textbooks. And so the spring series will probably look at those three things. We're trying to also bring into psychotherapy back to CIIS. We offered it a couple of times a number of years ago. And so we're hoping that we'll be able to bring some trainers in to do the into psychotherapy, particularly for our clinicians in training, so that they can have some of those skill sets. And we have a couple of other folks who are licensed clinicians that will be presenting some workshops on how you bring these African-centered practices into a clinical environment in your therapy work. And then we always close with our Jackmanship Cohort celebration. Depending on, we'll probably still be on Zoom. I know I'm not leaving my house. I don't think I'm going to leave my house till 2030 or something. God only knows when I'm leaving my house. But so we'll probably still do our Jackmanship Cohort celebration via Zoom. We may do some small gatherings or what have you. We'll see where we are when we get to May of next year. But that's always in May, and we close out at that point. And I think that is it. So last year, it feels strange to say last year since it just ended in May, but the 2020 cohort, we were blessed to have two other graduates from the Gateway Project, Art and Narissa Harris from Culture First Family Therapy, facilitate wellness circles for our Jackmanship cohort participants. And so they're both licensed clinicians. And so they offered these wellness circles just for the Jackmanship cohort. And this year, we have expanded that offering and brought in another alumni from the previous BPP from Serenity Village, as we met, to facilitate what I'm calling Serenity Wellness Circles this year. And what's special about it is not only is Laneay our facilitator, but it's open to all of Black students across CIIS, not just to the students who are a part of the Jackmanship cohort. So, so Laneay, can you tell us about Serenity Wellness Circles? Oops, I don't know if you're muted or frozen. It looks like she might be frozen.
I'm mute. Okay.
There we go.
Can you all hear my drums?
Yes.
So if I can share my screen. Oh, I'm co-host. I guess I can share my screen. Let's see. So the way I've entitled the circles is Serenity Circles, African-centered wellness for students. So the goal of this project, wait, too many fingers. Tell you a little bit about Serenity Village. We were established in 2017, right off the fresh backs of a mental health breakdown of my own. You know how when that happens, you start to think about things that you can do in alternative ways. And so the birth of Serenity Village came from pain and trauma. So it's actually a nonprofit organization that builds healthy environments in homes, workspaces, and communities worldwide. We actually service clients from 23-year-olds in London to master doctors all over the country and here in the Americas. Some of the work that I've been doing with ABPSI is hosting wellness circles that are called the Sawubona Healing Circles, which are virtual wellness circles for everyone. It started off as a first responder project, and now it's expanded to anybody that has community need. One of the specialized features of the work that we do at Serenity Village is wellness assessments using natal charting. Is anybody familiar with natal charts, birth charts? So I do all of my business clients, I do their birth charts before we build their nonprofit or do infrastructure development, because I'm not having that conversation with you because I'm talking to your Libra, but your Taurus is in the way. So that's one of the specialized things that we do. It's really cool. We create corporate hippies. So that's me putting my master's degree on top of my other degrees. I consider high school an accomplishment because some people didn't go through. So my challenges to my children is I've got 4 degrees, you need to catch up. So I can't get my doctorate before my oldest because she's very serious about beating me to the punch. And that's one of my healing pictures for my Reiki wellness. Building Corporate Hippies is a project that we actually started with my alma mater, Cal State University of Bakersfield, as an internship project where we took 7 interns during the COVID pandemic through a virtual internship because they were scheduled to graduate and they lost their internship. And if they didn't get their internship that spring, I guess the school wasn't going to progress them on to graduation. So the spirit told me, call and see what's going on with internships. And sure enough, they had a great need. So we are actually involved with the handshake space for universities to access our programs when we're ready, if they are ready. So African-centered wellness, these are the principles that we focus on in the wellness circles. As Adeeba mentioned earlier, knowledge is one of the primary focuses of African-centeredness, with principled backing. Laws of Ma'at is what I prefer to guide my students through, because it's very similar to some familiar principles that they have in their faith bases. And having them all centered around practice and community versus individualism. This is something we do together, and togetherness is a major role that we practice in African-centered anything, but specifically in wellness. So the journey for our students at CIIS is we will take them through a dimensional wellness format model, starting with spiritual awareness and spiritual wellness. We'll journey through in any particular order. We will definitely feel the vibe. That's my hippie side. I'll have some actual presentation material, and then we're just hippie after that. Like Adeeba mentioned, ad-libbing is my superpower. So you can drop me in a hole and I can do a whole symposium 2 minutes before it starts. So just saying, it's a thing. So we will flow through the 8 dimensions of wellness. And I know I have, it's bi-monthly. So we will either spend elongated pieces on one particular section. We can combine sections. It's just all about how the students present, how they show up. The circles are scheduled and structured to be in a 90-minute group format. We will start with libation, like with all African-centered ceremonies, our welcome and our introductions. We will swing over to the dimension that we will be discussing in the moment, and we will do open discussion. The open discussion format is for the students to have the opportunity to relate to the material being presented. It's an experiential learning experience, interactive learning experience. So it's Jackmanship, right? I learn from you, you learn from me, right? That whole reciprocitous mindset, which comes from our divine principles of Ma'at. And then we do a closing, cover things that we need to go through for the students to process, maybe some suggestions for the next session, what they would like to see after being presented with the dimensions. And we will just flow through the semester just like that. And that's the Serenity Wellness Circles.
Yay. That's why you have yay in your name.
It's what happens. It's a thing.
Thank you,
You're welcome.
Laneay. I appreciate that. So I'm looking over here at my agenda and we are actually right on time, but I neglected to do one thing, and that was to take a 5-minute break. So we are coming into the final stretches here, and we were going to talk about the application process, how you apply, and then go into the Q&A. So I just wanted to do a quick check-in because we do have the time to take that 5-minute break if you all want to do that. So you can just use your voices and say break, or say continue, or you can use the thumbs up, thumbs down, what have you. So let me know if you want us to take a little 5-minute break.
If the group doesn't, I'll just disappear for a minute.
5 minutes, yay?
Yay.
Yay, all right. So we will step away for 5 and we'll be back, we'll gather back together here at, let's say, so it's almost the 15-minute mark. So let's come back at 20. That way we make it nice and easy to do. So at the 20 minute after the hour, we'll reconvene.